TV, Rell TV. This ain't the Shade Room or TMZ, cause on Rell TV, ain't tryna get canceled like R. Kelly, cause it's Rell TV.
And welcome back to another episode of Rell TV. It's your boy Rell. So we're back to part 2 of TGI Friday edition. We're going to start back with the American classic, Full House. So I wasn't a huge fan of Full House, but I do respect the greatness of Full House. If you don't know about the show, it was about the Tanner family. It was Danny. He had his wife died, RIP to his wife. And she left behind 3 kids, 3 daughters, and they lived with her brother, Uncle Jesse, and then they also lived with Joey, which is one of their friends. So that's the Full House. And it was 3 guys taking care of 3 girls. It was a great concept. The show was really good. I was more of a fan of Jesse and Joey more than Danny, just because I just thought that Bob Saget was very corny on the show. Nothing against Bob Saget, because I did see a lot of comedies after, and he is pretty funny, or was pretty funny, RIP to the legend. But I thought the show was, I just like Joey. He was just a comedian, so he's funny as shit. And Jesse, he was an up and coming artist. He had the little shit with the Beach Boys and all that. Like he was really on the rise. It was a solid show. I respect it. I understand the greatness of this show. I just wasn't a huge fan, but I'm going to give Full House 8.2 out of 10. So the next show is Dinosaurs. So Dinosaurs was like full puppeteer show, but it was a family, but they were a family of dinosaurs. It was parents. They had 2 parents, and then they had 3 kids. They had the baby, and they had the other son, older son, and daughter. The show was pretty dope. They was dealing with real life shit for dinosaurs. Like he had a job. The father had a job. He had to deal with the boss. His boss was giving him shit. Like it was a real life show, even though it was fake. And it was. I don't know what to really compare it to with other shows, because I can't think of, like, it was an actual sitcom, but it was just puppets though. So I did enjoy the show, and I'll give it a solid 7.6 out of 10. Next is Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So it was a show about a teenager, Sabrina. I don't know what happened with her parents. I think they were going whatever. She was living with her aunts. She was living with both aunts. They had a cat. The cat was a witch too. He was talking, and she was going through like her regular teenage life. She was in high school. She went out with Harvey and shit. Like Harvey didn't know that she was a witch. Then he found out. And it was a really good show. She was dealing with a lot of stuff, because she had to deal with her regular teenage life, and then she had to deal with actually being a witch. Like she had to learn about her powers and what she could do, what she couldn't do, and then she had to hide it from her other friends and her boyfriend and shit. It was actually kind of deep if you really think about it, because she was living 2 lives. For a 16-year-old to have to deal with like family drama and school drama, and then like the witch drama, like there were curses, spells and shit, like there were different dimensions. She was dealing with a lot. For a very young age, and I commend her for it. And that's why I give Sabrina the Teenage Witch a solid 7.7 out of 10. Next show, we're gonna go to Sister Sister. So Sister Sister was a classic in my eyes. It's about it's Tia and Tamara, Mari, and the story was really good, because they were twins, but they were separated at birth. They found each other in like a random store one day, and then their parents, their adopted parents, winded up moving in together. So Sister Sister was a classic. They had Roger coming over, the annoying neighbor character, and you also were able to see them grow. It wasn't like a show that was only around for a couple seasons. They went from from like young preteens or teens, all the way from high school all the way up to college. So you were able to see them grow. You were able to grow with them. They added characters, new people here and there. you know, the parents, Lisa and Ray, they wound up dating for a little bit, and then they weren't. They were they hated each other at first, and then they had to be together for the kids. Then they wound up dating. You know, they always throw the love shit in there, and then they went their separate ways, but they were still, you know, friends, whatever the case may be. So I mean, Sister was an all-time classic. It had a lot of great guest appearances. It was one of the best shows of the 90s, in my opinion. And I gave Sister a solid 8.1 out of 10. Next show is Perfect Strangers. So this is a little before my time, so I have seen it, but I wouldn't consider myself an expert on this show. It's about Larry. He moved to Chicago, and then he had a roommate, his cousin from some Mediterranean, flew in, Balky, and that was like his roommate, and then he was just figuring out Chicago. I haven't seen much, but I did learn, because I had to look it up. I don't really look up many shows, but I had to look this one up, and I didn't realize that Family Matters is a spinoff of this show. So we will get into that in future episodes. We will do a spin-off episode, so we will talk about that. But I'll give Perfect Strangers a solid 7.4 out of 10. So the last show we're gonna go over is the George Lopez show. So George Lopez came on a little bit later in TGIF, but it's still a classic for me. It's one of the first Latin sitcoms that I've ever seen. And I don't think there's actually been many on ABC probably, but I mean it's a classic. It's about George. He's Mexican and his wife is Cuban, and they had 2 kids. Their in-laws were always coming in. George worked at George and his mom worked at the warehouse, like a warehouse, whatever, and they were making shit. He became a manager. He worked his way up. I mean, it was a really good show, really good family show, and it was a lot of play on like Mexican stereotypes. I'm a fan of stereotypes if it's done right, and I think George Lopez did it right. So I'm gonna give George Lopez show solid 8.0 out of 10.